Okay, here's some motorcycle upgrades I've been thinking of over the years from when I finished racing speedway bikes, and I'm not even going to get to do anything with them but shoot them. So here's some ideas for upgrades that I haven't seen on motorbikes as yet. Okay, now on a motorbike, with your front end, so here's your steering head, right? Then you come through there, and your forks come down here, your tyre goes around here, right? If you put a broom handle down that pin to the ground, that'll show you where your point of traction is on the ground. Okay. Now advanced, like dart cornering, it's going to be 1/2 inch to 1 inch in front of that. Delayed is going to be 1 inch behind. And what that'll affect is when you move it back, you're transferring weight from your centre point of your bike and putting more weight on the front wheel. So that actually suits a rainier condition. And when you turn your steering head, it will lift up and down a little bit more. You'll see this kind of thing in a custom bike or a Harley Davidson and things like that, perhaps, depending on who made it and what for. That sort of idea you'll see it in racing bikes. And then the steering rate, the steepness of that point there, the length of the frame, the height of the frame adjusts the speed and dart like it's going to be. Like a lower, longer bike is going to skid the front wheel if you try and push it too hard, and things like that. Okay, so all bikes' front ends are set as a permanent thing. So if we say, for instance, I'll move this whole idea to your front pin here to another one here and put a shoe at the bottom of it, like that, and the axle goes through there, your wheels are around here. So you can slide it back and forth. So if you like, you can have it marked at exactly each point. I mean, that should be there, so to each point you want it, each mark, so you can stop in the rain and adjust it back. Or you could actually set up a screw electrical idea and be able to adjust it from the handlebars. Or you could actually do it hydraulically, perhaps. So you can actually adjust the weather condition and how you want your front end to handle within the system while you're actually riding the bike. Okay, so that's one idea. The other idea is when we look at the back end of the motorcycle, like you've got your motor here, a bit rough. Okay, and on the back of that, when your frame comes wherever down, your swing arm pin. The old school have spring suspension that go up that way. Modern ones have like the old motocross bike shock, the single one up the middle. Now, I'll just say what I'm going to say, okay? With that idea, so here's your motorbike, your handlebars, right, and your front wheel. And then that's your motorbike, okay? Nothing flash, it's just about the point, okay? So what happens is when you're coming out of a corner with this idea here, what's happening is here's a curvature of your tyre only wants to go forward, but when you get to this point of your tyre, it'll push out on an angle. So if you over rev it, the whole bike's just going to flick out. And the more rigid your frame, the harder it is. But what I mean by rigid is if your frame does not flex much, then you're solid on your tyres. Excuse me. Whereas if your frame flexes, you can ride the flex before you know it's going to do it. If it doesn't, then it makes it more difficult. Then it comes down to tyre choice, and it can be quite tricky. And this idea here, what that does is when you're coming out of a corner and you're hitting the throttle, here's your back wheel here and up your suspension here. As your engine is spinning that wheel and putting thrust drive by your cog pulling, it's actually going to the top of the frame. This is all working at the top of the frame across the handlebars, and you're pulling down, the frame's flexing through that movement from the top. And you know, that can have its own issues. And then when you're going into corners at high speed, you can like either put a knee into the bike and pull down, cornering each way with your left or right arm, and slowing down. And if you want to go into faster, you can actually lift your arms up and use your body and put a leg out, and you can brake a little later and go into the corner doing that, and stabilize the front end and the handlebars going into the corners doing that. Anyway, here's a different video. Okay, an old school car torsion bar, right? Your back end looking directly down at it. Okay, the axle goes through here, your wheel goes through here. Okay, now imagine, say, an 8mm piece of hardened steel, spring steel, that looking directly at it from the back point, going to the front looks like that. Okay, that's holding in the air, looking at the back of it, looking along that way. Okay. Now, this here sits in here and in here and goes up to here. And then from that point there, you have a bolt from your actual bike frame to there that you can adjust. And what that's going to do is you can adjust how you want your bike to spring. Whether you want it harder, tighter, softer, okay? And now we'll look at it from the other direction, behind your motor. From behind your motor, here's your motor here. There's your motor there, roughly. And here's your back swing arm. This will take it a little bit of a modification, but you've got that in here, okay? And on the back of your motor, within your frame of your bike, have a metal thing that runs below from frame to frame each side like that. And then on your actual swing arm, have a housing, you know, like slightly modified. And from up there down to here, you have a dampener, an adjustable dampener. And then you can actually adjust it from that nut and there. And clearly your centre pin here is going to need to be a lot bigger than original, much stronger than, you know, like most bikes, probably 20 to 25mm. You probably want to go 40 to 50 2-inch. It could even be hollow and hardened steel on the outside, and that's going to give you a lot of strength. And you could even utilise this idea and have your motocross suspension there. And of course this can be varied in angles that you want with your wheel running through the centre, okay? And then what this is going to do when you put your frame in here like this, to your handlebars here, what's going to happen now is you might need to make a little bit, you know, you have, obviously whoever does this is going to have to run the stress points of the frame. But what's going to happen now is maybe make the little bike up into this point a bit stronger. Because what's going to happen from now is all of that stress that was running across the top of the frame is going to run along the bottom of the frame. And you'll find instead of having to battle your bike coming out of corners and at high speed coming into corners, you're not going to have to do that anymore. You're going to be able to concentrate on riding so much more if that idea works. I've had something similar and it was quite amazing, is all I can say. Okay. And the next idea, I haven't run out of paper. Okay, look at the front end of a motorbike. Fork, ear fork, ear pin, ear fork, your front wheel, and a plastic mudguard. Often a plastic mudguard. It's flexible. And then that, of course, goes up to your bike. So if you take that complete distance from there up to your actual motorbike, right to that pin there, you've got from there all the way up where that can flex going into corners and coming out of corners. And when you're doing that and accelerating, if this bends enough, that could actually flick your back wheel. A suggestive idea is to make, to make it out of titanium. Locked here, locked here. You could even make an adjustable dampener here. Obviously you still want that on your aluminium risers, otherwise that's just going to smack it. Otherwise you'll need to set it above your braking and bump points further up, if you one or two. And then that would give you, if you play around with it, you'll be able to have adjustments for your tyres, and if you're going to dampen adjust it, like a dampener, then that could be quite an amazing thing for flex from your front tyre to the actual bike itself. So yeah, hopefully some people think that's not too bad. Thank you for your time.